I'm messing this up. Okay.
Okay, we're gonna do this. Hi guys, we're live on Cosmopolitan at Miss USA in Las Vegas. I am flipping out.
Woo!
And yes, this is the sort of energy we're looking for. So we're here to talk about Miss USA and all sorts of things, because the Miss USA competition gives women an international platform to advocate for issues and causes that they feel really passionate about, and I think that's super important. There are also really great evening gowns, and I also think that is really important.
And bedazzled sashes.
Yes, we can't forget about the sashes. So we're here today to have a conversation with some of the women who are changing the conversation about what it takes and what it means to be in Miss USA, to be in pageants, and just to be a strong, empowered woman. So I am so thrilled to introduce Deshauna, who is the reigning Miss USA and the first active military member to win Miss USA. There is Ashley Graham, who is a model, a designer, a body activist, and the author of, I'm going to get this right, a new model, What Confidence, Beauty, and Power Really Look Like.
Good job.
Yes.
Woo!
I've read it as well, and it's a
You
great
just
read.
read it this week.
Oh, it's great.
Aww.
And I'm here with Halima Aden, who is the model of the moment, I think it is fair to say. And if you haven't picked up CR Fashion Book with her on the cover, you'll have to find a copy on eBay because it's sold out, but it's great.
Wow.
Yeah, it's
You
fine.
better sell them out.
Yes.
You better. I'm trying to tell her to move to New York City, but that's another conversation.
So I have a bunch of questions for all of these wonderful women, but I also really want to encourage everybody who's watching along to send in your questions, leave them in the comments, tweet them at us. We would love to have you involved in this conversation because there's just, I think, so much that we want to hear from them. Deshauna, I'd like to start with you.
Ooh.
Not on like a negative note,
No
but
pressure.
your reign as Miss USA is kind of coming to an end.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah.
What
Only
is
48
it?
hours now.
Has it been exactly a year to date, or is
No.
it off a little bit?
I was crowned on June 5th. They took 3
Oh.
weeks out of my reign.
Wow.
That
Yeah,
is
it's
shocking.
yeah, they have to base it on Fox
Yep.
and the availability, so I'm trying not to hold it against them. But
Right.
I would like my 3 weeks.
Yeah.
It is what it is.
Co-crown?
What'd you say?
That-
Y'all could co-Miss USA?
I like that.
You know, I kind of want it to myself.
That's what happens to
I don't know if
anyone.
it's
Yeah, I wouldn't
yeah.
want to share.
I would not
It's
want
not
to
a
share.
sharing.
Have a Mean Girls moment.
Yeah, break it off.
I love
Wait,
it.
what
I
show
love
is
it.
that? That's
Mean
Mean
Girls.
Girls.
Mean
Mean Girls. Mean
Yes.
Girls. Yeah.
So
Love
what
it.
is the past year minus 3 weeks? We're gonna make a point of that 3 weeks minus 3 weeks. What has it been like? What are you really proud of achieving? And kind of moving forward, what are you hoping to continue doing? With your platform and with everything that you've done this year.
So this year has been just amazing. I can't put into words what it feels like to be able to be Miss USA and be able to use your voice to discuss the things that you're passionate about. So I'm just very thankful. I'm happy that I was able to represent the career driven, stereotype breaking Miss USA that's able to ruck 10 miles with a rifle in her hand, and next thing you know, she's able to put on her heels and gown and slay a runway. But, it feels good. And then now I'm moving on to be a full-time motivational speaker, which I'm incredibly excited about. A lot of the events that I've been doing are very women's, veterans focused. My platform throughout the year has just been about post-traumatic stress disorder, make sure I'm raising awareness on what our soldiers are going through when they return from deployment. So I plan on continuing that after my reign is over in 48 hours.
Wow.
Amazing.
Wow.
I think it was really interesting you mentioned kind of stereotype busting, because I think that's something that Miss USA is doing so well year in, year out now. And I wanted to ask you, actually, this is your 3rd time doing Miss USA and Miss Universe, but you hadn't done pageant so much as a kid growing up or anything. Did you have any stereotypes about what the women who competed in pageants are like?
Yes.
And has that changed now?
100%. So when I first got the call to be the backstage correspondent for Miss USA, my first question was, so do they have a talent?
Okay.
And then they said, no, there's no talent portion. I was like, well, then what's the point? Because I'm like, so it's just some pretty girls walking around in their lingerie, and then they walk around in their gowns, and then, oh, they've got a question. Good for them. And seriously, and I did it because I'm like, I wanted some diversity in size, and I wanted young girls to know that they too can be in the pageant world, even if they are on the curvier side.
Right.
But when I walked into it and and I started really meeting the girls
Mhm.
and getting to know them, they don't need a talent because they are lawyers, they are doctors, they're a scientists, they are in the military,
Yeah.
they are activists, they have 501c3s, they have, I mean, the list goes on, and if they were to do a talent, it would look so ridiculous because they'd be like, really, like, I'm already making a couple $100,000 a year, and I don't need to do this. So I'm so glad that I actually got to get deeper involved because, you know, there are stereotypes with everything you do, and it's nice to break them.
Yeah.
Right?
Absolutely. I was watching the preliminary competition. I'm just going to talk about it. It was great. The preliminary show was great last night. There are some really great video packages that just show what the women competing do. You know, scientists, like architects. It's incredible.
Yeah.
And their activism and the causes that they're passionate about. It's really incredible. I wanted to ask you, Halima, so you competed in Miss Minnesota, and that was kind of what blew you up onto the world stage. No big deal.
No. No, it's a huge deal.
Yeah, so kind of what got you interested in pageants?
Well, for me, I grew up and unfortunately I never saw like women in magazines or billboards or even on TVs, and growing up I felt like I was missing something. So for me it was about representing my state, especially when some people don't think you are Minnesotan if you don't look like the stereotype. So I wanted to show young girls that they could still be a part of the pageant world and they don't have to change, they could still do what they're comfortable with but still be a part of the organization.
Totally, which is amazing. And what was it like to do, the state pageant, which is a big deal, like state pageants are a big deal in their own right. And then suddenly you're not kind of just in maybe local papers in Minnesota, or you're not even just in USA Today, you are on newspapers around the world, you are on blogs all over. What is it like to suddenly blow up?
Oh my god, I don't have the words for it, but it's crazy. Like, it's exactly what I wanted to see growing up, you know? And the fact that I'm being talked about as a Muslim woman, but it doesn't have any negative connotation to it, it makes me so proud.
Especially the country that we're living in today, right? Yeah, I think it's amazing. And
Thank
congratulations.
you.
Yeah. This is my first time meeting her.
I'm fangirling
But I
over
know.
Miss
But I got
Ashley
to watch.
Brown.
I got to be in Milan Fashion Week and watch her slay the runway.
Yes.
Yes, at the Max Mara show, and she came down. She was like,
Thank you.
yes.
I took a few pointers. I went through your Instagram page.
Oh, please.
Yes.
Oh.
No, girl, you had Gigi back there. Yeah.
I'm like almost ready for a walk off, but we're not going to go. Because I win, guys. No, I didn't. That was terrible. I can't believe myself.
Well, I got Tyra's teaching me, honey.
I'm such a mess. This is so embarrassing. I can't believe I just said I would win a award. But I think that was really interesting, and I think I want to talk a lot about diversity in every sense because I think Miss USA is championing body diversity, racial diversity, diversity of religion, diversity of backgrounds. What do you think is, why do you think when this is happening so much now that there is still that kind of stereotypical pageant blowback? Like, what does Miss USA? Can we even do any more?
Well, I'm going to speak from only being it for a couple of years now, and I think that that's exactly what we have to be celebrating. Is that this has only been a couple of years that they've finally said, okay, age, or no, they haven't even done age yet. So here we go. Let's talk about race. And Deshauna and I were having a conversation earlier, and last year there was 7 black women in Miss USA, and this year 7 black women. And I asked her how many women of color were in it, and she said she couldn't say, but she knew definitively it was 7 black women. I still think that number could be raised much more. And I also still have yet to see a curvy woman actually in the pageant. So look, we can praise the pageantry for talking about it, but I'm ready for somebody to really come in and do something about it as well. Because, it's our job to talk about it. We're activists in our own right. We're changing the fashion industry. We're changing the way that women look at entrepreneurs and women in the military. And I think it's really important that we're doing our job, but it's also really important that the women who want to be a part of pageants, they just do it. Get your courage up and just go in and do it.
Absolutely. Could you guys talk about maybe what that's, because I think there are going to be so many people watching who, have that, they want to get involved, but they're kind of, they're nervous, or they know it could be hard to begin with, there's like a struggle to
they might be told no.
Exactly. What have you guys done when somebody told you no, or when somebody made you think you couldn't? compete in a pageant or any, in any factor of your life?
I think I faced that a lot. I think I faced that a lot with pageantry. I had so many times where I would walk into a pageant, or I would be around a lot of the girls, and they'd be like, oh, she's not gonna win, I'm not gonna pay her any attention. Like the assumption is that, yeah, she doesn't look like the stereotype this or stereotype that, therefore she's no competition. So I think that it's so important that there is that representation. You can't be afraid of defeat. I think that that's one thing that I had to learn to keep coming back. So I started competing at 19, and I competed every year until I won at 26. So it was a lot of no's, a lot of losing. It's a lot of losing all the way up until that. So it takes perseverance, and I think that that's just what life is. Life is about when one door shuts, you have to try and find another one. It's always going to be 90% no, and then 10% yes. Like it's never going to be easy. So I think
and
that
if it is easy, then it's not
probably
worth it at the end of it.
It's definitely not worth it if it's a quick yes, or life is never easy. And I think that there's one thing that makes success so lovely is because you know what you've been through to get there. So for anybody out there that has a dream that they're fighting for, just never stop fighting for it.
Absolutely. And I think going hand in hand with that, when you're being that role model and stepping up yourself, you are so conscious that you are empowering so many other people to do it similarly. What would be your message, to young girls who don't feel that they are or that they represent Miss Minnesota? What would you like to say to them?
Well, first of all, it's ridiculous because we can't have one image for Minnesota. Minnesota
Clearly.
is very diverse.
Because you don't even have a Minnesotan accent.
Minnesota.
Don't you know? Don't you know?
Exactly. Like Minnesota is very diverse, like a lot of states, and it's just like we need to stop looking for one person to represent the entire state. It's like made of different languages, cultures, religions, different ethnic backgrounds, different stories. So I think you just have to change your own mindset.
Totally.
And again, I know you said something about losing, but in my idea, like in my head, I think you lost because every single time that they didn't pick you, you came back, and then now you're Miss USA, and now you're encouraging other women in the military. So again, you have to change the definition of losing.
It's very true.
Exactly, and it's harder done than said. But I went home after not being crowned, and I'm like, it was my first time, and I did win because I made some new friends. I had a new experience, and again, like a lot of people weren't expecting a hijab wearing, burkini wearing woman to participate, and I did just that. So it's the definition.
Yes.
Change the definition.
Absolutely.
Losing is learning. You should say it's a learning experience. Yeah.